Good evening, everyone. My name is Barry O'Donovan. I'm with INEX and the IXP Manager project. And in this video, we're going to look at upgrading to IXP Manager version 7, which we are just about to release from version 6.4. So from one of the latest releases of the existing versions of IXP Manager. This video is going to probably be a little bit long and quite detailed because we're going to do a full spectrum upgrade. We're going to upgrade Ubuntu and PHP and IXP Manager. So let me get ourselves orientated here. So this is the IXP Manager website, and just in terms of where this video will be, under install, we'll be replacing this older version of upgrading IXP Manager that was upgrading from 5 to 6. So we'll be replacing that with this video from 6 to 7. And of course, all of these videos are always available under support and tutorials. And here you're going to see all of the videos. So we've already cut 2 today: the automated installation of IXP Manager version 7 and the manual installation of IXP Manager version 7. And this new one now will replace this here. So as I say, this is going to be quite a long, quite an involved process in the sense that I'm going to do everything. And I'm going to do it live, and I'm going to do it, I'm going to use any issues that crop up, I'm going to solve them on the fly, or I might pause it and explain what I did if it's not particularly relevant to IXP Manager. So the instructions that I'm going to follow will be on the IXP Manager version 7 release notes. So on GitHub, under IXP Manager version 7, right now the latest release is 6.4.2. This will change to 7.0.0 once we release it. And in the meantime, the v7.0 release notes are in draft form for anyone with access to the repository. So I'm going to scroll down through the various new features to, sorry, I need to read more here. To the upgrade instructions. Okay, so if you're upgrading to IXP Manager version 7, this is where to start. We assume you're upgrading from v6.4.x, and no other upgrade paths are supported or recommended. So if you're on an earlier version, you need to get to 6.4 first, and then you can move on to version 7. This is the video I'm recording, so I've kind of preempted this. So the context of this is I've taken INEX's own virtual machine running IXP Manager, and I've cloned it. And that's running 6.4.2. It's running on Ubuntu 20.04 with PHP 8. So what we're going to do is we're going to upgrade that from Ubuntu 20.04 to Ubuntu 24.04 via 22.04. So we've got 2 distribution upgrades to do. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start looking at upgrading PHP and upgrading IXP Manager. So it's going to be quite involved. What I'll either do, depending on how it goes, I might pause the recording while we do some of the distribution upgrades, or else what I'll do, or I might also do, is put timestamps against these steps so that you can see where in this video I attack each of these steps. So PHP 8.4 is required for IXP Manager version 7, and if you're using Ubuntu, we recommend Andre Suri's PPA, and we'll see all of that now as we go through the upgrade process. You don't need to upgrade to 24.04, by the way. You can use Andre's PPA with 22.04, no problem. And if you're using some other version of Linux or FreeBSD, you're just going to have to figure out how to get PHP version 8.4 yourselves on that. So the process we describe here is based on a standard installation of IXP Manager using the automated installation scripts. That's actually how we installed it on the INEX virtual machine, as we used a long time ago one of those automated installation scripts. So if you have IXP Manager installed somewhere other than, for example, /serve/IXP Manager, you just need to alter these instructions to match. So I've also preempted that we're going to include the timestamps as well. Okay. So let me just get onto our virtual machine here. So this is me logged in to the IXP Manager clone. It is fully functional. So if I do an IP address, so if I just take this IP address here, So you can see it is running IXP Manager, and I can log into it. So I will log into it just also to prove that. I'll need to do two-factor. Get my key. So I'm logged in. I have made some changes. For example, I've switched the grapher to dummy, so I'm not showing real graphs, just in case I click on any member pages. But otherwise, it is a database as was copied today, running on INX's infrastructure. So it is just like the production version. On the server itself, so I am running 2404 as advertised. So this is what we're going to upgrade. So I'm going to go in as root just to get started. So now what we will do is we will step through these instructions. So set up some variables and ensure directory permissions are okay. That's fine. So we want to, because that is exactly where we have IXP Manager. And you can see it as version 642. And this is my web user. If you're wondering, you can do a ps-ef grep for your whatever web server you're running, and you can see the user here. Okay, so that's just my web user. So here's a critical step. Let's take some backups of both the IXP Manager installation and the database. I'm just going to open, so I'm using screen here, so you can see I'm on tab 0 on my screen. So I'm going to switch to tab 1, go in as root. I typed that wrong. So you can see in /serve, all I have is IXP Manager. So I'm going to, I need to reset this because I'm on a new shell, and reset this. And I'm going to take a tar, bzip tar of my IXP Manager installation. So I'm just taking a backup of the entire directory so I can roll back if I need to. And then I'm going to go onto one more screen. I'm going to run these again. So there's my tar building up. So it's not quite finished yet, but it is starting up. So I'm going to source the .m file, which is where I have all the database passwords. Actually, that is something else I changed as well. After I cloned it, I went into my M file, I've changed the application key, I've changed the passwords for MySQL. So none of those are what's used in production. So just in case I do go into Env and you're wondering if I'm leaking passwords, I'm not. I've gone and changed those elements. And I'm going to take a database dump. So that's still running, that's still running. So I'll leave those run away. You can see under /serve, they're building up there slowly. So that's fine. So that's me taking backups of the database and the file system, and that's all I need to recover, right? So, and you should have these running yourself on a nightly basis. What I would also say is, if it's possible with your hypervisor, which it should be possible with nearly all hypervisors, take a snapshot now of your virtual machine, so that you can just roll back rather than have the backups anyway, but take a snapshot. So if this all goes pear-shaped, you can just roll back the hard drive to exactly where it is at this moment in time. So when I'm doing this in production for INX, I'll definitely be taking a snapshot at this point. Before continuing, you should ensure your IXP Manager MySQL user has super privileges. This needs to be done as a MySQL root user. The command you need to execute with MySQL can be determined as follows. So I'll leave that to yourselves. This isn't an issue for us. I know that it's already done. But just to show you, like if I was to source this, and if I was to echo this, so what it's asking me to do is go into MySQL and run that grant. That's all it's asking me to do. Okay. Now I want to enable maintenance mode to let your users know what's happening. So I'm going to cd into IXP Manager and I'm going to run the PHP artisan down. So now your application is in maintenance mode. And if I was to go to the website where I logged in earlier on, if I'm going to refresh this, I've got service unavailable. So I've turned off the web server. or I've turned off the application, which means things like root service now, if they try and upgrade, they'll see it's offline and they'll just stop the upgrade process and they'll just keep running as they are. What I also want to do, because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be replacing PHP at various points during this. And if we uninstall PHP but leave Apache running, it is possible for people to access the PHP files in the public directory. Now, in reality, this means you're going to access an index.php file that's well known and it's on GitHub anyway. So there's no particular security concern, but it is just good practice to be aware of the fact that when you're upgrading PHP the way we're going to do it, by removing it and then reinstalling it, there may be a window where your PHP files might be accessible as text rather than run as scripts. So what I'm going to do is I'm stopping Apache and I'm disabling the Apache service just to stop it from running again. So again, if I go back to this website now, rather than service unavailable, I'm just going to get unable to connect. Sorry. Okay. I want to ensure our operating system is fully up to date. Now, I actually did this. I did this before I cloned it, or after I cloned it. So there should be very little to happen here. So here's my update, just updating from Ubuntu's package repositories. See if there's an upgrade to be done. Nothing to be done. Dist upgrade. Nothing to be done. And anything that can be removed. Always good practice to run auto remove as well. And nothing to be done there. Okay, so we have a clean system. Now, I'm saying optional because, as I say, it is most definitely optional for you whether you want to upgrade your Ubuntu as well in this process. I am going to do it. I'm going to go from 20.04 to 22.04 first. Then I'm going to go from 22.04 to 24.04. So to upgrade an LTS version of Ubuntu, it's really very easy. I just have to run this do release upgrade command. Just while it's doing that, I'm going to go on to tab 1. So my backup is complete. Tab 2, my database is complete. So I'll just make sure they're done before I actually think about rebooting anything. So Ubuntu's off doing its thing. It's found an upgrade. Now it's detached from the window for some reason. So I don't know why that is. I'm just going to pause it for a second and figure that out. Do you know what? I think it just timed out maybe while I was looking at something else. So I just ran the exact same thing, do release upgrade. In fact, I won't continue. I'm going to get out of it again. And just to show you, do release upgrade. Do I want to continue? Yes, please. So it's found some stuff in my SSH config that I'm going to have to address separately. Just some deprecated settings. And otherwise, we are now starting the upgrade process. What I'm going to do is maybe just show you one or two places where it looks for some user interaction, just tell you what I'm going to do and why. And otherwise, I'm just going to let it run. So what typically happens is it's going to bump up against some configuration changes we've made to the configuration files that come with daemons by default. So let's say SNMPD. We would make changes to that, and when it comes to upgrading SNMPD, it asks if we want to replace our SNMPD configuration file with what's in the package. Essentially, we say no all the time, so we always want to keep our configuration files, and that's what we kind of get bump up against the most. We just let this run for a little bit. Now this happens all the time. It says that for some reason MySQL isn't restarting. That's fine. That's a problem for the end of the process, and you'll actually find at the end of the process when the package is upgraded, it started and there's nothing for you to do. I think it's so just try to do a restart early, or earlier than it was possible to in the middle of the upgrade. So in a moment now, we're starting to unpack all of the new packages and installing their files and then their configuration files. And this is where we may bump up against one of those requests about the configuration file that I was talking about. Maybe it'll be fine. I did clean this this clone just to take some stuff off it, including SNMPD as it happens. I just didn't want to. Record anything that might be internal to INX. So we'll just see what happens here. I'm certainly flying through it. When we get to, if you haven't forwarded past this, when we get to upgrading to 2404, there's going to be a very particular thing at the end that we'll try and catch before the reboot, which is that Ubuntu changes the name of the interfaces. So ETH0 becomes ETX0, which I can tell you is really, really annoying, especially when you're upgrading remote machines and you don't realize it. There are ways to stop it doing it as part of, I think it's kernel flags. I'm not exactly sure, but I've never used them because I didn't want to change out of the ecosystem. I just wanted to stick with the defaults because, you know, using those kind of overrides usually comes back and bites you in the arse some other way. Right, we're at this point now. We're installing the kernel, so that means we're pretty close to the end, I think. Okay, excellent. So here's one of the things I was talking about. So this configuration file, it's been modified by myself or a script. And what would you like to do about it? Would you like, your options are install the package maintainers version, keep your currently installed version. So we're going to do the default, which is N. So I'm just going to hit enter on these. I don't want to lose our configuration settings. I'm conscious that we're already 17 minutes in. So what I suspect we're nearly at the end of this. So I'll let this run, and what I might do then is I might pause the 22 to 24 version just to cut down on the time a little bit. So here's another new version. We're going to keep the locally installed version. This is a kind of text user interface rather than just a command line question. Okay, so I will pause this for a second and we can just pop back once we get towards the end. So I haven't made any changes since. I've just let it run. It took about another 45-60 seconds from when I paused it. And we're now at the process where it's searching for obsolete software. So, you know, packages that it's going to remove that are no longer available. So we'll just see what that comes back with. So 150 packages is going to be removed. We're going to continue. Yes. I've done this probably hundreds of times, if not into the thousands. I'm an old hat at this. Doing distribution upgrades with Ubuntu, right back from the beginning. So now, look, system upgrade is complete. Restart is required. But that's by way of explaining why I'm not looking at what package is going to be removed. I know how this thing works. I know this server has no surprises on it. It's a standard Ubuntu installation. It doesn't have any weird third-party software besides IXP Manager. Not that I'm saying IXP Manager is in any way weird, but there's nothing unusual. So it's a default Linux install. So the distribution upgrade installs what it installs, removes what it removes. There's no particular issues there. I'm also, as I've done it so many times, if there was any major gotchas between 20 and 2004 and 2204, I'd know about them the same way I mentioned that there is a very big gotcha between the 2004 and the 2404. So we'll see what they're like in a while. So now in the previous videos, I was able to show you a console where we could see the system rebooting, but I can't do that on this because this is not on my local machine. Okay, so here we go. Log back in, and now you can immediately see welcome to Ubuntu 2204.5. So actually I'm going to spin up my screen as usual. And I'm going to go in as root. Now, popping back to our instructions. This was my optional upgrade from 2004 to 2204. Complete the upgrade and reboot the server. So I've done all of that. Now it's my upgrade from 2204 to 2404. So I'm going to start the exact same process. Do release upgrade. This time I will pause the video, but I will pop back out of it or unpause it before we get to this reboot piece. So I do want to continue. Yes, press enter. Okay, so it's going to, let me just see if it requires intervention. No, it's going to start running. So there's an NB here. Interface names change from ETH0 say to ENX0 say. So I'm saying see the video. So I'm going to address that very particularly when we get to that point. So for now, I'm going to pause the video here and we'll pick it up when we get to the end of the release upgrade process. Okay, so we're back here. We're now at the point where we're going to start removing some of those obsolete packages. So we've done all of the upgrades. So this is just quick. I just wanted to get it back in here before we hit the reboot option. So we're going to remove all of these obsolete packages. Now, this is where I want to just catch it, right? So the finish and upgrade of restart is required. Yes, we do need to restart, but I'm going to go on to a new screen session. Got my password wrong again. So in a new screen session, I'm just going to go into /etc and do a grep or for ETH0. Just try and see where we might be using that. So you can see here, DH client commented out, so that's no op. That's a comment, so it's a no op. So the only place I'm using ETH0 is in network interfaces. So I'm just going to edit that file. And I'm going to change this from ENX, so ENX0 and ENX0. So they're that's a new naming scheme that we're going to have with Ubuntu. So once I reboot, this will be ETH0 no longer. So I'm going to go back now and I'm going to continue. Yes. So I'm just going to ping that and I expect that to come back, and I expect it to come back and up because I changed the name of those interfaces. If you were using a local IP tables, you'd probably have named interfaces in there, so you'd probably want to edit that as well. This particular machine only has ETH0. If you have ETH1, ETH2, you might want to grep for those as well and just see that they're not in use. As I said earlier, there was a flag you can pass at some point to stop Ubuntu doing that, but I really don't want to go out of the ecosystem. I just want to stick with the way it works. So hopefully we'll see this come back in a second. Can't remember how long it took last time. And there we go. Okay, excellent. So I'm going to SSH back in there. IP link, and there you can see it's now ENX. Now there's one other, screen first. There's one other thing that often happens with Ubuntu upgrades in these later versions. And here we go. It messes up with your resolve.conf. Now, how you handle this is going to be particularly up to you. We use SaltStack and we push our own resolve.confs to use our own name servers within the IXP Management Network. And that's why the upgrade failed. This is why that's red, because we push our own stuff. So what I'm going to do for this purpose is I'm just going to delete that, and then I'm going to edit a new one. I'm just going to set a name server here just to get us over the hump, and I should be up and running. Good. So again, however you may or may not bump into that, it should probably just work because you're probably not doing what we're doing, but because we do change it, that's one of the consequences. Okay, so I have upgraded from Ubuntu 22.04 to 24.04. So now I need to upgrade PHP to 8.4 and install any other required packages. So this is going to get a little bit tricky, and this is why the video is important. You can see I am running PHP 8.0, and in fact, one other thing just to check, has Apache started back up? It doesn't look like it has. Okay. Yeah, it's still disabled. That's perfect. So as I said, so we're going to use a Ubuntu PPA, which is a personal package archive for the 8.4 packages. This is Andre Suri's PPA. This is like the canonical PPA for PHP and Ubuntu. So I'm going to install this, which allows us to do PPAs. It's probably already installed. I see the fine package is no longer required. Right, we'll just get rid of it. Let's not be looking at these messages as we go through this. Right, goodbye, mailcap, whatever you are. Now we're going to add this PPA. We may already have it. As I say, but we've now added it, and we're doing. In fact, if I were to do an apt upgrade, you can see there's going to be a bunch of packages, right? But I don't want to do that now because I'm getting rid of PHP 8.0. There's no point upgrading it if I'm going to get rid of it. I think the apt update already happened. We'll just run it for good measure. So before we install anything, we need to go back to a no PHP for a clean system, right? So you may need to run these multiple times with various iterations. So I'm saying see the video. Let's try this and see what happens. So the command I'm running is dpackage to remove composer, PHP common, and then any packages that are installed that begin with PHP. Let's take a look and see what that means first of all. So I'm going to make this a little bit wider just to make this a bit more readable for now. That's going to go off screen for you a little bit, but it should be hopefully okay. Okay, not perfect yet, but let's see. Just be good if we could just. Okay, so a lot of crap going on there. So I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll go back to the size it was because I think that's much more readable for anyone watching on the video. And we'll cheat a little bit. What we'll do is grep.i php. Let's try cut-c80 and see what happens. Oof, yuck. All right, let me pause this for a second and get the right command. Okay, sorry about that. What I was doing was this, but I need to say characters 1 to 80. There we go. So we're looking at removing all of these PHP files. There's a lot of crud here, to be perfectly honest. Particularly all these symphony and pair stuff. That all kind of came from Composer, but we're going to install Composer differently. In fact, we don't use Composer the way it's installed here either anymore. It's just more of legacy stuff. So what we're going to try and do is try and get rid of all of this stuff. So heading back to our upgrade instructions. So I'm going to run this now. The awk print $2 essentially prints that column here. So let's see, we've already got a couple of errors. That's expected now. There's always going to be some dependency errors because I'm trying to get rid of a lot of stuff here in one go. So what's causing us the problem? So PHP readline isn't getting removed for some reason. This isn't getting removed. This isn't, probably because this is installed. So we'll try and get rid of all of these. What else are we running up against? maybe it's PHP CLI, is it? Did I miss that one? Looks like I did. Okay. So is that everything? Let's go back to our... Okay, not getting anything for PHP, but it mightn't actually be... let's just grep for PHP, because... Okay, all removed. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take that last command where we removed everything. I'm going to switch that to a purge. Just to remove everything to do with those old versions of PHP. And if we grep PHP now, some stuff is still there. Oh yeah, it's still there because I'm grepping for II PHP and I should be grepping for RC PHP. So dpackage -l grep PHP. Great, clean system, no PHP installed whatsoever. So that's what I said. You may need to run these multiple times with various iterations. That's what I meant. You're going to have to play with that a little bit just to clean your system out. Okay. And you'll know it worked when dpackage-l grep PHP returns nothing, which we just checked, and it returns nothing. So now I'm going to install everything I need for PHP 8.4. So we let this run through. Let this do its thing. And once that's done, we're going to do an upgrade and an auto remove. So the auto remove, as I say, is good housekeeping. The upgrade is just because we're using Andre's PPA now, and there may be other things in there, libraries that we need to upgrade along the way. So we'll just run this command one more time. Just make sure that everything runs as expected. So everything is already installed. Installed but no longer required. That's fine. That's why we're going to do an apt auto remove, but we'll do that after we do an apt upgrade. Okay, so we can see that there's a few packages, a few libraries here that's coming from the PPA that we need to install as well. That's fine. We're just going to install all of those. Then we do an apt auto remove. Okay. And now we do php-v, and this is brilliant. We have PHP 8.4 installed. Super. That's exactly where we wanted to get to. So we've done our check. What we're recommending here is that you edit the PHP 8.4 apache.php ini file and you change two settings. Max execution time, I'm going to make 5 minutes, and the memory limit, we're going to make 1 gigabyte. Okay. We do that like things like IRRDB and root server generation just use a lot of resources. Now we need the PHP module for libapache. It's probably already installed. We're just going to run it. So already at its newest version, that's perfect. We want to make sure it's enabled. It looks like it. Hang on now. So it looks good. And well, we don't need to stop it, right? Well, let's stop it because let's follow my instructions because I did this for a reason. It hadn't started. We checked that earlier on, so just as kind of belt and braces. Now, this isn't going to work, okay? We have restarted the server a couple of times since we set those variables earlier on. So we just go back up here and take this. So now I've set my IXP root and I've set my www user, which means that this should now work fine. Great, I'm in IXP Manager. I'm going to pull all the latest code. So this isn't a git pull or git update. This just stages everything within Git itself. So I haven't made any changes to my code yet. The next thing is I'm going to check out, well actually, do you know what? Before we do that, we should always do a git status. What you want to do is make sure that you have no CRUD, files you might have edited or any of that kind of stuff lying around. So I have nothing edited, which is great. I have a couple of untracked files. So it looks like Nick was working on a new command around cross connects. That's not in the repository, and I know there's nothing in the repository that's going to conflict with that, so I don't need to worry about that. It looks like we have a couple of skins for INX that we haven't pushed to GitHub, which is fine. Again, these aren't in GitHub. There's going to be no conflicts. And then these two files here are to do with artisan down that we did at the start. So again, they're fine, no issues with those. So now you have two choices. When we tag and release version 7, you can do a git checkout v7.0.0. That's probably the cleanest thing to do and the easiest thing to do. Now I haven't tagged it yet, so I can't do that. I have to check out, rather than checking out the tagged release, I have to check out the version 7 release branch. It's the same stuff, but the release v7 branch will get updated along the way. So when you're upgrading from IXP Manager version 6 to version 7, you have to do the tagged version, right? Because we'll then have a new process, a different process for upgrading IXP Manager within version 7. So you need to start at version 7.0.0. So you're going to do that tagged release, and then you might have other upgrades to do if you've delayed your initial upgrade. So after this, I am going to, in fact, what I'm going to do right now, so there's no confusion whatsoever, is I'm going to pop up here. I'm going to edit these instructions. I'm going to scroll right back down. Sorry now for giving anyone a headache. And I'm going to scroll right back down, and I'm going to just make sure that this simply says that. I'm going to save that as a draft so I don't forget. Go back to my preview, scroll all the way down. So now in production, in reality, this is what you will do. I can't do that because I haven't tagged it. So please remember that you want to do something else here, okay? So sorry, I just took a quick pause there. So again, we did a git checkout, and of course, what you will be doing is git checkout v7.0.0. Now, we need to install Composer locally, right? So this is important because Ubuntu stock version gets out of date. These I got fresh this morning, but we're going to go to this website just so I can show you. You click on this link. These are the instructions for downloading and installing Composer. Obviously, when you copy and paste any commands from the internet, you should be satisfied of their safety. I am satisfied of the safety of this. So I'm going to paste those in here. And what you will see is it's created this composer.phar. Phar, P-H-A-R, that is a PHP archive. So it's a packaged PHP application. So I've done now step 10. I've got my local version of Composer. Now using this, I can install all the required libraries. So I'm going to do a chown now again. So this should not be www.data. So we're just going to edit that in real time. And again, apologies. I did say that we would fix stuff on the fly just so you can all see what's going on. So that should be my www user. So pop back down here to, so that should be chown-or. It should be my www user, just like the one below it. Okay. So I'm going to run this. Now I'm running this from the IXP Manager directory, just making sure everything is the right user. And now I'm going to, as a www user, I'm going to do a composer. Let me just paste this in. I'm going to do a PHP in the current directory /composer.phar install. So install all of the packages. No, don't install any development packages. And I prefer distributions, which means don't install documentation or other ancillary files. Okay, so this is doing a big upgrade. 85 third-party library requirements are being installed. And as we scroll down here, hopefully we'll spot Laravel. Laravel Horizon. I was hoping we could just spot Laravel in this glut of Laravel serializable, Laravel prompts, Laravel framework. Here we go. So we're installing version 12. So the latest version of Laravel. Now, okay, so we've hit a problem. I'm not really sure what that is. Let's try running it one more time. Okay, what is this trusted service? Proxy, not found. So I'm just going to do a quick grep here. See if I can see where that's coming from. Okay, so it's coming from Bootstrap Cache. So these have been cached from an older version of IXP Manager. So I'm going to do an rm bootstrap cache. What's in there? 2 files. I'm going to remove both of them. And in fact, we'll even make a note to do this. I'll make a note. I'll make a note to upgrade the documentation to do this. Bootstrap cache. Okay. Hopefully that solves our problem. Let's try it one more time. Super stuff, right? So it's installed everything. Now, you know, the interesting thing here, just so you know, everything that Composer installed was installed into the vendor directory. So everything exists in there. I can blow that away. If I was ever having issues with that directory, I can rm-rf it, no problem. And I can do a Composer install all over again. So there's no issue with that whatsoever. So we're going to let that do its thing. Download, install. Okay, perfect. Now restart memcache and clear the cache, and don't forget, skip this step. Okay, so we're going to restart memcache and we're going to run an artisan cache clear. So both of those things have been run successfully. Update the database schema. So let's see what's going to change. First of all, what status are we at with the database? Okay, we've got 2 pending migrations. Very easy. So we're just going to migrate those. Yes, I'm sure I want to run this command, and those 2 migrations ran without error. Perfect. So that's what I just ran here. Now I want to make sure my permissions are still correct. So I'm going to just run these 2 commands. It's important to do this because I'm logged in as root. So, you know, some things I might be doing here might be just creating or updating files as a root user. So I want to clear out all possible caches, just to give us a fresh installation. Now we work through the rest of the release notes before proceeding and disabling maintenance mode. There isn't actually, I don't think, anything that you have to do. But if I come across anything that you have to do, what I will do is I will just itemize them underneath this in the final release notes. But I don't think you should, of course, read through the rest of those release notes, but there's no actual hard requirements that I can recall requiring. Recreate the SQL views. Look, this is a no-op. Yeah, might as well just run it. It's really for if you've written any scripts that rely on views that we used to use maybe 8+ years ago. You might want to do that. So now we can disable maintenance mode. At this point, we should be upgraded, right? One thing I will highlight to you is I have upgraded to IXP Manager version 7, but what hasn't changed is the version. So if I look at the version.php file, that still says 6.4. That's because I haven't tagged 7 yet. I'm not going to tag 7 until the last second until I do the release, because that then will be the official tagged version. So I'm still in development and I haven't actually upgraded the tagged version as yet. So I'm going to enable Apache. Great. And I'm going to start it. Okay. If I grab my IP address again, if I now go to the browser, fingers crossed. Okay, so if you recall, I logged in earlier on, so my session is still live. The application key or nothing else changed. So there's no reason we should be logging out users because of the upgrade. So those sessions are all still fine. But this is IXP Manager version 7, and I know that because I can see the new settings module is available here. So this is brand new IXP Manager version 7 stuff. PHP info, I can see I'm running PHP version 8.4. So this is brilliant. My upgrade has worked. A few minor gotchas along the way, but we worked through them all, and that's it. You are now running IXP Manager version 7 on your newly upgraded Ubuntu with PHP 8.4. Congratulations. If you've bumped up against anything we haven't covered, always remember on our website we have support through the mailing list. So please use the mailing list to ask any questions. And again, the best way to ask for help, please go through this so you do provide us with the information that we need to be able to help you adequately. And if you come across any actual bugs, I'm just going to save that draft so I don't lose it, just in case I made any other changes. Any other bugs, just please open an issue. Okay. So thank you very much. Hopefully this will have been useful to you, and hopefully you'll be running IXP Manager version 7.